When the cold north winds of winter blow down from the mountains onto Nara District in Kobe, the sake brewing season at Kikumasamune Kahogura Brewery is reaching its peak. Here, the art of Kimotozukuri sake making has been handed down from generation to generation by the Tamba Toji, the masters of sake brewing. Simplified sake brewing techniques have become the norm, and only a few sake breweries in Japan still practice the traditional method of Kimotozukuri, which requires a great amount of time and effort. Here we'll look at the Kimotozukuri sake brewing technique, the secret of Kikumasamune's dry yet rich taste. The reason why Kikumasamune still practices Kimotozukuri is a simple one: to achieve a dry yet rich taste. Crisp and clean, with a smooth palate and a strong finish. The ideal sake for Japanese cuisine. The reason why Kikumasamune continues the tradition of Kimotozukuri. Sake is made from rice. It's said that the brewing of sake begins with the growing of the rice. The Yamada Nishiki is known as the king of sake rice, and the rice grown in Yokawa ranks among the best. Another key ingredient of sake is water. Nara's famed Miyamizu water springs up from beneath the Rokko Mountains. As sake made with Miyamizu matures over the summer, it takes on a mild and delicate taste. But quality ingredients alone are not enough to make good sake. The most important factor is the brewer's skill. A toji is a master brewer who precisely controls the unseen microbes in the brewing process. At Kikumasamune, our Tamba Toji create authentic Nara sake using skills handed down for hundreds of years. This is the koji, or steamed rice onto which mold spores have been cultivated. Sake brewers have a saying: first koji, second moto, third sukuri, referring to the order of importance of these key processes. First is the koji. To make koji, rice is first steamed and cooled to a specific temperature. Koji mold spores, called moyashi, are evenly sprinkled onto it. Then it's mixed and sent to a special room called the koji muro. In the koji muro, the koji is spread into square trays and allowed to set overnight. The next day, the set koji is broken up and repeatedly mixed to maintain a uniform temperature and expose the koji mold spores to the air. The koji is then cultivated overnight while adjusting its temperature. At 6 a.m. on the following morning, after 3 days of preparation, the koji is ready. Next comes the moto, or sake mash. To prepare it, koji and miyamizu are added to steamed rice in shallow tubs in the motoba. The basic ingredients of sake are rice, koji, and water, but these ingredients cannot be properly fermented by simply mixing them together. The moto is prepared by cultivating a pure culture of the yeast needed for alcohol fermentation.
美味しいお酒を追求していくというか、追い求めていくと、いいものは残していこうとすると、木本やと。
Kimoto is a method of cultivating superior yeast using the lactic acid produced by natural lactic acid bacteria. Originally, all sake was produced by the Kimotozukuri method. Today, most sake breweries use a method called sokujo moto, in which lactic acid is added at the start, eliminating the work of producing it naturally. In addition to strenuous labor, the Kimoto method requires great skill because it relies on the power of natural lactic acid bacteria. Only a small number of breweries can make sake this way. The next morning begins with a task unique to Kimoto. It's called motofumi, the crushing of rice and koji in tubs, not unlike the crushing of grapes to make wine. Careful crushing eliminates pockets of air and water that promote unwanted bacteria and creates an ideal environment for cultivating useful microbes. This process is also called yama oroshi. The Yamahai method of sake making was developed to eliminate this crushing process. Years ago, motofumi was followed by a process called motosuri that was repeated long into the night. The moto is transferred to a tub and the yeast is carefully cultivated using traditional implements which are used to adjust the temperature. Let's examine the traditional skills of the Tamba Toji from a scientific viewpoint. At the start, the moto contains many microbes. When warmed, the koji produces sugar from which natural lactic acid bacteria produce lactic acid. The lactic acid gradually becomes more concentrated, killing most of the microbes other than the lactic acid bacteria. At this point, lactic acid-resistant yeast begins to grow more active. The lactic acid bacteria are gradually killed off by the acid they produce and by the alcohol produced by the yeast. What remains is superior quality yeast resistant to lactic acid. Kimoto takes about 25 days to complete. During this time, the number of yeast cells reaches up to 200 million per gram. In the Sokujo Moto method, lactic acid is added at the start, so it takes about 12 days to complete the moto. But in Kimoto, about twice as much time is spent on carefully preparing the moto. This is followed by tsukuri, the process of making the moromi or mash by adding more koji steamed rice and miyamizu to the completed moto. In a process called sandan shikomi, the koji, steamed rice, and miyamizu are added in 3 successive stages over 4 days, increasing the volume to promote yeast growth for consistent alcohol fermentation. This is where the Kimoto method makes a big difference. Moromi made using the Kimoto method undergoes gradual yet complete fermentation. The reason is the toughness of the Kimoto yeast. If the yeast is weak and dies out before fermentation ends, the result is a taste characterized by an unappealing odor or bitterness. Most of the Kimoto yeast remains active until fermentation is complete. That's why sake made using the Kimoto method is dry yet rich, with a refreshing, clean taste and a robust finish. In autumn, the Kimoto sake, with its smooth, crisp taste and fragrant aroma, is ready for the market. Kiku Masamune's Kimoto sake is delicious when drunk at room temperature, but its flavor can best be appreciated when served warm. Heating enhances the sake's flavor and aroma and brings out a crisp yet full, rich taste. A traditional sake brewing method with only a few adjustments for modern technology, relying on the skills of the Tamba Toji handed down over centuries. Using the traditional and mysterious method called Kimoto that is uniquely Japanese, Kiku Masamune's Kahogura continues to make authentic, great-tasting dry sake.